Multiplication with integers is actually pretty straightforward. It's actually got a rule. So this is the rule, okay? If the signs are the same, then the answer is always positive. It's pretty straightforward. For instance, a -8 times a -1. Well, are those signs the same? And you'd say, yeah. So my answer is always a positive, so that's +8. Okay. Now, if the signs are different, then my answer is always negative. A -8 times a +1 is a -8. Now, what you need to be careful of is when you multiply more than two numbers together. Multiplying two numbers together is straightforward. Like for instance, if you see this one here, this one is a negative times a negative. So my answer, my signs are same, means my answer is +8 again. If I have a positive times a negative, those signs are different. It means my answer is always negative. See how that works? But what you need to be aware of is when you multiply more than two, because your sign is changing. It could be changing, but you need to keep track of that. For instance, a -8 times a +1 is a -8. But a -8 times a -1 is a +8. Let's try that again. +8 times a -2. Well, that's going to give me a -16. But a -16 times a +1 is a +16. You see how the symbol changes as you multiply? You have to keep track of that, okay? Again, remember, it's not the ones where you're just multiplying two numbers together where it's pretty straightforward. It's where you're multiplying more than one time. This happens a lot with exponents. And you need to be careful when that's happening.